so this can be quite, in the world, like, unprofessional. So I would say when presenting your work, especially online, a good way of doing it is something like this. So as you can see, this is so much more cleaner, so much more neat and tidy, rather than having grey lighting and just everything else. But I think, like, even especially today, like, we're quite lucky, because when back in my day in college, we had to scan everything in. We didn't have Procreate, we had Photoshop, but if you're come from a background like mine where you're dirt poor, it's kind of impossible. So that's just like an example of like like how to present your work, I guess, like online, so you can see like a huge difference of like how neat it is and much more tidier. But this is just very like old work of mine, but and this is just like ways of like, this is just tips of like, I guess, like when it comes to like lighting and presenting your work. So some people actually take photos in an actual bathtub. So if you've got little figurines, like if you make like jewelry or something like that, people actually use the background of the bath, so because it has like a curve and it's white, and bathroom has natural lighting, so people do that. Or people go outside now, which I've done in the past, when it comes to like sunrise and I can't remember what it's called, but like when it's sunset or like sunrise, there's like this particular lighting that's very good when you're taking photographs. But yeah, there's also like other ways, I guess, you can do it, from like dark rooms and like using professional cameras. But again, we live in a great world right now where we have fantastic cameras on our phones. But I would definitely say, like, if you are thinking about doing things like online, or even comes to like your portfolio, it always comes down to like planning things and like just experimenting, rather than just taking the first photo and then like moving on. So I definitely like just play around. Like that's what I always try to do before I move on to anything else, because you can always improve on things, no matter what. But this is just like an event I did in 2019. It was called Weird Things Happen in the Woods, and it was based on an artist called Mark Leckey. He's a very interesting artist. He's a working class artist, and he used to hallucinate on like fairies and the devils and stuff like that, because he took so many drugs, and he hallucinated fairies, and he had a breakdown when he was like 25, when he realised that's not actual reality, it was the side effects of taking so much drugs. So I used the reflection of that part of his life in terms of my culture within it comes to like Ireland, and even like in Ireland there's this huge community about like fairies, people who still believe in fairies in Ireland, and so I used my reflection of my culture and the reflection of Mark Leckey and came up with Weird Things Happen in the Woods. And this just pretty much came from like a conversation I had with my managers at the time at Tate, because I was working at Tate as a Tate Collective producer, where we organise Tate Lates at Tate Britain and sometimes at Tate Modern. And it was just a conversation and just like talking about fairies and just like how like interesting it is, and we just came up with a workshop and like a theoretical immersive space where people decorated these fairies, and so I just illustrated these fairies here, and people just decorated them, and then I've got like this recycled tree that I made myself. Everything was all handmade by me, and people would make these like decorate these fairies and then hang it on the tree, and it was really amazing. Like a lot of people came, but yeah, and also like this website here is called The Dots, where there's also another website that you can find artists online, that you can hire them, people can hire you. It's like an online portfolio that that's just mainly for artists. So if you know what LinkedIn is, then it's like LinkedIn but as for the art community, and it's a good way, like if you can't afford a website or anything like that, it's like another way of being like, oh, you can find me on the Dots account, and they're really good because they will feature you, so then like you you become more out there in the networks and stuff like that. But yeah, these are just examples of like how to like present your work when it comes to like portfolios. So like I would definitely say like try keep everything in like one place. Like some people keep it basic, like the one on the your right. Some people give it basic like this, or some people like spice up by making like stuff like this. Yeah, but I would also say just keep things like together and just tidy, and like don't have things wonky. Just like keep things like in nice perspectives like this. This is just me and my OCD. But yeah, and like these are just like examples of like, or advice on like how to like present your work as well. So
so is this specifically for graphic work, would you say, or could this be applied to any creation of any portfolio?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like because when I was in college, I did fine art. Well, I did BTEC level 3 and I did A levels at the same time. So I did like A levels in fine art and photography, and then I did my BTEC, which involved photography, fine art, jewelry making, sculpturing, graphic design, printmaking.
Wow.
It was a lot. And so like I just loved everything like that. So like this is just how like I got taught how to do like presenting my work. Even like at university, they get really funny. Like if you see like a little crease in the corner, they get really funny about that. So you have to be like very like, I guess, you don't have to, I wouldn't say stressed about it in the sense of like, oh my god, everything has to be perfect, but like just be aware like other people can be looking at this as well. But this is just like how I do things. Everyone like does things like differently, but like again, like when it comes to like doing your portfolios, especially, like just experiment, have some fun with it. Like people like do things on TikTok and Instagram like differently to like how I do things, and it's really getting to know like your niche and getting to know like what suits you as like a person or as a creative person. So really just like have fun with it, and like, and even like online now, like you can see like the requirements of like what people ask for. So if you're thinking of going to university, or like you're applying for like a freelance role, they tell you what they're looking for. So some people will be like, oh, we're looking for like 15 images, or we'll be looking for 1 image. So it's always like just being, I guess, like aware of like what people are asking you, especially like when it comes to a brief. So like when I do briefs here, they tell me like what exactly they're looking for. So if it's a photography brief and they say, oh, we got Key Stage 3 students coming in, we want 10 photographs of them, we don't have any photographs of like this age group, so can you make sure you get this? But then I have to be aware of, okay, the lighting in the museum is not that great, so I have to be like very aware of like the different lightings in different spaces and stuff like that, as well as like being aware of like there might be some shy students like coming in, don't like a photograph. Like I can admit I've been that person, and I'm still kind of am. So you have to make people like comfortable, and like it's always like one of those things that gets a bit annoying. And even with like illustration itself, like it's kind of annoying because like I have to do like rough sketches and then give it to someone and be like, is this what you're asking for? And if it's like a yes or a no, then I have to do like another mock and all that. Like you can't just do a finished piece and go, here you go, because they might go, well, that's not the colour I wanted. And you're just like, oh, okay, what colour did you want? And you have to be very like, what do you want? Like even with TFL, like they have like particular like colour restrictions, and they have like the Johnson font, which is the font for TFL. We're not allowed to use any other font. If we use any other font, we're in trouble. So it's really annoying in that sense. But yeah, this is just some of the sketchbooks for my college. But this is my university work. This was just based on like folklore, like is it real or is it not real? Because my main like specialism when it comes to outside of TFL especially is just mainly focused on like folklore and like crime and like Irish culture in that sense, because it just feels more closer to home to me. But yeah, I do like illustration, story based type of stuff. So every bit of illustration I do has a story behind it. So even this one here is based on a true crime story that is still unsolved today. Like, a woman got murdered in Wales in the 1940s, and no one didn't give a damn about her because World War II was going on. So I made it very like an honourable thing for her and all that. So yeah, it's just like having to think about how to tell a story from like other points of views and stuff like that. But these were all done by like print and like photocopying and like illustration. So this one's like handmade illustration, this one's like stencil and printmaking, like lino and other stuff. And like these are all just experimental and all of that. So again, it's like very like playing around and just having fun with it, rather than just being like, oh, I don't know. Like, if I always say, if you're not sure, then like just try multiple options until you are sure. And that's what I just pretty much did like throughout uni. But this is kind of my like career coming out of university. When I graduated, before I graduated, I was a carer, and then I left care work, and then as soon as I graduated, I became a cleaner because I was like, I want to work in museums. I got really frustrated with people at my university not giving me the opportunity to curate some of the events that were going on there. So I was like, okay, how am I going to become a successful person in museums and illustration and stuff like that? So I did cleaning for a year, and while I was cleaning, I was doing arts temps at my university, which is like temporary roles, which is like sometimes just bits and bobs and all that. But I really had to think about like, how am I gonna get from A to B? So the cleaning was just more of like how to support myself as an artist whilst doing like other stuff. And that involved from like getting up at 5 a.m, finishing work at 10 a.m, then going straight to like being an assistant at the Maritime Museum, or doing stuff at Bold Tendencies, or like doing volunteering stuff at like print studios. After that, I did worked at the Bethlehem Museum for like young people, did like stuff for mental health, for like social media and stuff like that. So I had to really think about like, how can I speak to young people on regards of like their mental health, and how can social media help them rather than giving like a negative impact on them. And being a Tate Collective producer, again, like I did like the events at Tate, which involved like a lot of stressful curating, but it was very like great because we worked as a team, and we would sit at like 5 a.m. to like 9 p.m. coming up with ideas, like just sitting in a room just being like, okay, like this work is based on Picasso, what can we do that can make like the audience like fun? Oh, we could do a collage and thing, or oh, we could do like a painting workshop. Oh no, we can't do painting because the painting might get on the expensive paintings in the galleries. Oh no, like we have to really think of like how to make the public engaging and all that. So that's what I guess, like that's also another thing that's made me get where I am, because all my jobs that I do today has made me think of like, how can I become like more creatively, and like how can I use my creativity, even if that involves like the stuff I'm interested in, to like what I'm doing here. And so I had a mentor, I left cleaning, I did volunteering at Create Jobs, which involved doing like a big arts festival for like people with disabilities, and schools that don't really go into like museums, and like coming up with like workshops and like other activities. And then like still kind of didn't really get like the museum role, like it was kind of a slump. I was doing like visitor assistance, and then I managed to get a role here, which was amazing, which is at the London Transport Museum as a young freelancer, which is a 1-year program to like actually learn how to become a freelancer. So you do your taxes, you learn how to do invoices, you learn all the things that I never really got to learn in university. So whilst also doing that, I also worked with like the V&A, so I did a talk there. I worked at the Westminster Abbey, which I did like workshops for like young children, and also come up with workshops at the Hogarth House, which involved a lot of printmaking. And whilst also working at the London Transport Museum, I was like, okay, I still love working at museums, but however, I miss becoming an illustrator. My passion is not like being fulfilled. So one thing that I learned that I'm really good at is talking. I'm very good at like not getting my way, but like kind of being like, I'm interested in this, so is there any chance like there's any work for me? So there's there is. So this zine here, this was like a brief that I spoke about, but beforehand, like I was talking to my managers how like, oh, I'm an illustrator, so can I use my skills like into like the transport sector, because the program was very like learning focused, but even so I love what I do, but it was very like I can give more. So they kind of gave me this brief in the sense of like this was supposed to be, I think, for the International Women's Day or month, where like women are not very shined in museums, and I think that's what really good about the team and myself, that we're really good at. We kind of very spoke a lot about like, oh, what we want the museum to change, because a lot of museums don't really want to change, where this museum does. So we noticed that in the galleries they don't have big massive cases or like big like gallery on like people of colour or like working class, or like even just certain communities that did a lot for transport but it's not very shined. So a lot of people don't know that the Irish community actually built some of the rails. Like that's not really spoken about. A lot of people don't know about the Windrush community did a lot as well. So not only like we do that, but like this zine here pretty much like shined a lot of the women that are not very shined. Like the first woman tube driver is a woman of colour. Like you don't really hear that really, where a lot of men train drivers are more shined than women. It's just fact at the end of the day. And even like Joy Joyce, like we don't even know her face. Like there's no recording of her face or where she's born or when she died, but she was the designer of this maquette design. So I kind of came up with a solution of like, okay, she has no photo, but yet let me try to do like a woman like pose of her maquette design. And I was also part of like the marketing team briefs, where like we came up with competitions and like ways of like last year when the museum was reopening due to the pandemic, we thought of like ways of like how can we get the public to come in and more excited to like to come back. So me and another person came up with a competition where they designed their own maquette design. So I did the templates, I did on the social media I did like the posters and like the little like gifts and stuff like that, which was exciting because like I've done like some marketing stuff as well before, but competition was a new thing, and it was really exciting. We saw the results and like a lot of people responded really, really well, and we even picked the I guess the awards of like when the people won. We did and rather than doing just one person won, we did a first, second and third place, so we made things like more fair for people. So yeah, and even like social media, we thought about like Instagram and like how can we make the public more like excited to come back, rather than the museum just losing money, because the only way the museum was making money was from the shop. So we were like thinking of other ways how to make the museum money. Is everything? I think so. But yeah, advice on becoming like an artist or like any type of artist is networking. Again, like I'm very great at like talking, so I started as a cleaner, but like nearly every week I went to every event that I saw on Eventbrite. If I heard something was going on, I was there all the time. I was the person turning up. I was the person being like, hey, do you want a coffee? Hey, like drinks is on me. Hey, like this is who I am. This is what I do. Is there anything going on? Like really trying to like deep down, I was scared as hell. I'm not gonna like stand here and be like it's so easy. It's not easy, but like sometimes you have to really be like, okay, I've got to do this. Like I'm kind of scared, but like the worst thing they're going to do is say no, and if they say no, then okay, then I move on to the next person. And that's what you have to do. Like, some people are going to be a bit rude and like pretentious and stuff like that, but but yeah. And like, you can even message people on Instagram, Twitter, and again, like the dots, like these are like other ways of like trying to like contact people. And we have Eventbrite as well, so like you really have to kind of like outshine people in some sense, but at the end of the day, this is about you, not about the stranger down your road. Like, if you want to make money, and like the art sector is very hard, like that's how it is. Like, I'm not saying like be a dick to like people that are trying to do it as well. Like, if you have a friend that's trying to make it, like, don't be competitive, don't be like, oh, like I gotta compare myself. Like, never compare yourself. That is don't ever compare yourself. Like, take that out of you, because my friends try to do it and it doesn't work. It never works. So like, just do you, and just like, I guess like focus on you in a good sense, but also be a good person, be nice, be kind, and smile, and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's annoying at first, but then you get there. Yeah, and just, yeah, residencies, internships, there's Etsy, there's Fiverr, where you can make some money. If you're a crafter, you can make pins. My friends make pins out of like clay, and they just get the end of the pin and they just stick it on with PVA glue, and they sell it, make money, make that money. That's what I say. If you do something that involves drawing, draw it every single day. If you paint every single day. Doesn't matter if it's the most tiniest little thing, just do it, because if you want to improve, that's the only way you're going to improve. So yeah, I think I'm done.
Thank you very much for